Where have you found hope this week? Our youngest just turned 9 months old and she started going through this developmental stage called separation anxiety. It's that time in a baby's life when they start to recognize that when you leave the room, you're actually gone and they're alone. I remember it with Georgia, and now we're starting to go through it with Chloe, and I have to admit I'm a bit of a soft touch. She's our youngest and we're not planning on having any more babies, so I think she's got us wrapped around her little finger. Anyway, this week it was about 4:30 in the morning and I hear her crying out, and normally she just wants the dummy. But this time I go in and she's not really settling. She calms down when she can grab onto my finger, but as soon as I get up and leave, she cries out again. Adrian has a go at settling her, and then we just decide to give her a chance to cry in the hopes that she'll go back to sleep. But eventually I give up and I grab my pillow and a blanket and I lie down on the floor next to the cot and I let her hold on to my finger, and eventually she falls asleep. I'm now in the most uncomfortable position possible, which is generally how babies like it. And as I'm laying on the floor next to Chloe and she's holding onto my finger, I realize how similar our situation is. From the moment babies are born, they live and breathe based on hope. A baby cries, and I don't know why they cry, so we just pick them up and hold them, and more often than not, it makes it better. Why? Because when we pick them up, they're living in the hope that someone has seen them. Someone has heard them and noticed that something is wrong and is going to do something to make it better. They live in the hope that when we pick them up, we're going to provide food for their hungry tummies, or comfort for sore teeth, or we're going to put them to bed because they're tired. They live in hope because they can't communicate their needs in a way that we can understand. They communicate in the only way that they know how, which is to cry. Humanity as a whole, I think we're a lot like babies. I think whether we like to admit it or not, secular or religious, we're looking for someone to offer us hope. Hope that things will get better. Hope that our needs might be met, hope for human connection and love. And just like babies, we communicate our needs the only way we know how, the best way we know how. And often that communication isn't all that clear. You know, for some, it might be stress and uncertainty, and that communicates as alcohol abuse. Loss of job and fear for the future communicates as anger and violence. Medical issues, loneliness, marital problems, family stress, the need for connection and love can all be communicated in very damaging and harmful ways. Our cries for help, cries for hope, can bring more harm. But we as people of faith, we communicate differently because we don't just live in hope that things will get better, but we know and believe that there is a better way. We live by faith and we trust God and know that His promises are true. But with trust comes a very big responsibility. We need to share that hope with those who are hopeless through our words and our actions and our response to crisis. Hebrews 10:23-25 puts it this way: "Let us hold tightly without wavering to the hope we affirm, for God can be trusted to keep His promise. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. And let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of His return is drawing near." The message for us in this text is to hold on to the hope that we have, yes, but that we should also spur one another on to good actions and deeds, that our hope should motivate us to be agents of hope to others, all the more as we look forward to the day of Jesus' soon return. And so I wanted to share with you something to encourage and bring you hope, that we do have a God, we can trust His promises, but we also have a responsibility with that hope to reach out to those around us who don't have that faith and trust that we have. My daughter this week said something incredibly profound, and I think she summed it up really well. As Adrian was getting her ready to go out for a walk, he was putting her shoes on and she was sitting on the step, and she looked up at him in the way that only a 2.5-year-old can, and she said, "You know what, Daddy? We've got to take care of each other. Daddy, we need to look out for each other and we need to give each other cuddles." And I know cuddles look very different in the COVID-19 world, but the sentiment's still the same. We need to look out for each other. We need to care for each other. We have a wonderful hope. We have a wonderful faith and trust in God's promises. And we have an opportunity to share that with the world. So I want to challenge you. Who can you share and be an agent of hope with this week?